On November 17, 2016, in Loxahatchee, Florida, 21-year-old James Berry was stabbed inside the kitchen of the home he shared with his mother. The attacker was his ex-girlfriend, Melanie Eam. This is the story of who James was, what happened that night, how investigators built the case, and what the courts decided. You're watching Twisted Case, careful, verified true crime storytelling. If you find this helpful and respectful, please subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. James Berry was a college student at Palm Beach State College. He lived at home with his mother, Nicola. Friends and family describe him as gentle, loyal, and reliable. He liked gaming with friends, low-key hangouts, and family dinners. The house in Loxahatchee was ordinary and steady. Dogs in the hallway, a quiet bedroom, and a kitchen everyone used. That stable, everyday setting is important. Nothing about James suggested violence or trouble. He was a young man planning a normal future. Melanie Eam was James's ex-girlfriend. The relationship had been on and off. There were emotional highs and lows. At times, her family tried to create distance between them. None of that automatically predicts a crime, but it explains why their breakups could be intense and complicated. Like many young couples, their connection included long chats and messages. In the days leading up to November 17, tension rose. On the night of the crime, James sent messages ending the relationship. The tone was firm. He wanted it to be over. Those messages are a key part of the timeline. They show that the breakup happened shortly before the attack. Location: James's home in Loxahatchee, Florida. Who was present? James Berry, a friend of James's who had fallen asleep in a nearby room. Later, Nicola's boyfriend trying to help. Melanie Eam arrived after the breakup messages. After the breakup, Melanie went to James's house. A neighbor's security camera captured a car linked to her arriving in the area and then leaving later that same night. That footage would later help confirm timing. At some point after she entered the home, a kitchen drawer was opened. A white-handled butcher knife from the house was used to stab James multiple times. The attack was fast. James was seriously wounded. James called out to his friend for help. The friend woke up, came into the room, and tried to stop the bleeding while calling for help. In those frantic moments, people moved James, grabbed towels, and tried CPR. These actions, normal in a life-and-death emergency, would later be debated in court photos and testimony, but at the time, they were attempts to save him. Melanie left. James collapsed from his injuries before paramedics could save him. This is the emotional center of the story. A breakup, a house that always felt safe, and a sudden, fatal attack in a familiar kitchen. Detectives began building a timeline from the first hour. Digital trail. The breakup messages on James's phone placed a clear emotional trigger and a time marker before the stabbing. Security footage. A neighbor's camera showed a car associated with Melanie entering near the time of the crime and then leaving soon after. That footage would later help confirm timing. Physical scene. The weapon came from the home, pulled from a kitchen drawer. Blood patterns supported a rapid, violent event rather than a long struggle. Left behind device. A phone linked to Melanie was found in the house, strengthening the link between her and the scene. Each piece by itself might be challenged. Together, they formed a tight window of opportunity and a direct path from breakup to violence. After leaving Florida, Melanie went to Maryland to stay with relatives. Florida investigators coordinated with local authorities and approached her there. Not a police station, but a home. Specifically, a kitchen table. She was not under arrest during the interview. The conversation was recorded on a phone. In calm detail, she acknowledged opening the drawer, taking the knife, and stabbing James multiple times. She couldn't say exactly how many. She also handed over the shirt she wore. This interview became a central piece of evidence. Later, her defense argued that the interview felt like a custodial interrogation and should have included Miranda warnings. Prosecutors, and later in appeals court, said the interview was non-custodial. She was not under arrest, and the officers told her that. As a result, Miranda warnings were not required, and the statement could be used in court.
In 2018, the case went to trial for the first time. Jurors heard about the breakup messages, the timeline and the neighbor's camera, the scene in the kitchen, and the Maryland interview and what Melanie said. The defense focused on uncertainty in the scene, the friend's actions while trying to save James, the movement of the knife, and whether those actions might have changed the evidence. They also questioned the fairness of the Maryland interview. The jury could not reach a unanimous decision. Some jurors pushed for second-degree murder, others for a lesser charge, like manslaughter. Because Florida requires a unanimous verdict, the judge declared a mistrial. There was no final decision at that time. The case was tried again in January 2019. The evidence was similar, but the presentation and the jury were new. The recording from Maryland was played for the jury. The timeline was underlined: breakup messages, arrival, attack, departure. The defense again argued about the interview and the actions of people at the scene. The prosecution emphasized the immediate trigger, the breakup, the use of a household knife, and the direct admissions in the recorded interview. This time, the jury found Melanie Eam guilty of second-degree murder. At sentencing, the court heard victim impact statements from James's family. They spoke about who James was and what was taken from them. The defense presented background on Melanie's personal history, including difficult experiences and mental health context, asking the judge to consider youth and possible rehabilitation. The judge sentenced Melanie Eam to 50 years in prison. It is a long sentence that reflects the gravity of killing a young man in his own home. In 2020, an appeals court reviewed the case. The main issue was the Maryland interview. Was it custodial? If it was, Miranda warnings should have been given, and the confession might have been suppressed. If it was not, Miranda did not apply. The appeals court ruled the interview was non-custodial. Factors included where it happened, a home, not a station, the way officers spoke with her, and the fact that she was not under arrest. The conviction and sentence were affirmed. James's death devastated his family and friends. His mother lost her son in the place that had always felt safe. His friend lives with the memory of trying to save him. His sister channeled grief into advocacy, creating support for siblings of murder victims, a group that often gets overlooked in the aftermath of violent crime. The home, the porch light, the doorbell, ordinary parts of daily life now carry the weight of that night. This documentary is not about blaming technology, relationships, or breakups. It's about recognizing risk and protecting yourself and others during emotionally charged moments. For young people and families, if a relationship is ending, consider ending it in a public place or by phone with a trusted person nearby. If you fear the other person's reaction, tell someone you trust before you deliver the news. Save and share concerning messages with a family member or friend. If someone threatens harm to themselves or others, take it seriously and ask for help from adults or professionals. For friends and roommates, if you hear a confrontation, call for help immediately. After a violent incident, do whatever you can to keep the person alive, apply pressure, follow 911 instructions, but be aware that moving items can complicate evidence later. In an emergency, saving a life comes first. For viewers thinking about the legal process, interviews outside a police station can be lawful and admissible if the person is not in custody and is told they are not under arrest. Good recordings and clear procedures help courts and juries understand what really happened. 2016, November 17th. James Berry, 21, is stabbed in his home after ending his relationship with Melanie Eam. He dies at the scene. 2016, November 18th and 19th. Investigators connect Melanie to the scene through messages, security footage, and a device left behind. She is located in Maryland. Maryland interview. At a kitchen table, not under arrest, Melanie gives a recorded statement acknowledging the stabbing and hands over her shirt. 2018, first trial, hung jury, mistrial declared. 2019, January, second trial, jury finds Melanie Eam guilty of second-degree murder. 2019, April, judge sentences her to 50 years in prison. 2020, appeals court reviews the case. The conviction and sentence are affirmed. James Berry was a son, a brother, and a friend. He should still be here. The legal system concluded a careful, contested process. Second-degree murder, 50-year sentence, conviction affirmed. The human story is simpler and harder. A young man is gone. A family lives with that loss every day. In cases like this, where a breakup leads to sudden, lethal violence, how should sentencing balance justice for the victim and the possibility of rehabilitation for a young offender? And what safeguards, if any, should apply to calm, at-home interviews like the one in Maryland so that juries can trust them without question? Share your thoughts respectfully. Center James. Offer reasons, not insults. This channel exists to learn from tragedies and to keep more families safe.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe for more gripping true crime breakdowns, mysteries, and criminal psychology stories, only on Twisted Case.